Hello Venters, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Guys, we walk every single day on this channel because none of these other walking channels get you out there to walk. It's just you watching people walk. I try to get you out here. If you walk every single day, it really does do a lot of really good things for your health and your state of mind. But what about the state of the country? Today I was watching a couple videos that they were having on Karoline Leavitt, the White House press secretary. And apparently a federal judge ordered the Trump administration to use contingency funds to fund the SNAP program. Karoline Leavitt was answering questions posed to her by the reporters, and she said some really interesting things. For one, in the future, President Trump doesn't want it where people can just tap into these contingency funds because...
Clear up some confusion about SNAP benefits because the president just posted that they will only be given out when the radical left Democrats open the government and not before. But just yesterday, the administration said it would comply with a court order to expend the full amount of SNAP contingency funds by end of business day yesterday. So did the administration distribute that money or defy that court order?
No, the administration is fully complying with the court order. I just spoke to the president about it. The recipients of these SNAP benefits need to understand it's going to take some time to receive this money because the Democrats have forced the administration into a very untenable position. We are digging into a contingency fund that is supposed to be for emergencies, catastrophes, for war. And the president does not want to have to tap into this fund in the future, and that's what he was referring to in his Truth Social post.
They're supposed to be there, I assume, for war efforts and potential future wars. So obviously that money is something important that we shouldn't necessarily be tapping into, but it's too late for that. It's been ordered. But then she said that in order to fully fund the SNAP program, it costs about $9 billion.
So the Department of Agriculture, as for the latest SNAP payment in the judge's order, put out guidance to states today on how to get that money to the recipients of SNAP. But it's going to take some time. The best way to get the full amount of SNAP benefits to those beneficiaries is for Democrats to reopen the government. So to anyone who is a SNAP beneficiary at home who needs that assistance, and the president was just saying, this is for people who are truly needy, who need food, who need this assistance from the United States government. Democrats are holding it up and making it difficult for the administration to get those payments out the door. So if you are at home and you want your SNAP benefits, call the Democrats and tell them to reopen the government.
Blocking that contingency fund for the future if this shutdown lingers on?
Look, the president does not want to have to continue to dip into a contingency fund that doesn't even have enough money, by the way, to fund the full program. It takes $9 billion to get the full scale of the benefits out the door. This contingency fund only has about $5 billion in it. So again, Democrats need to reopen the government so we can get these benefits out the door for people who truly need them.
Then she said, in addition to not having enough funds in there, they're not exactly sure how to get those monies into the hands of the SNAP recipients.
With SNAP benefits, does he have any authorities or considering any authority there to release more funds to help people who are desperately needing these benefits?
So look, I think I've already answered the question on SNAP. We're complying with the court's order and we're getting that partial payment out the door as much as we can and as quickly as we can, but it's going to take some time because again, this is a prorated payment that we're tapping into a contingency fund for. The best way to get those payments out the door is for Democrats to reopen the government. But yes, the president is in constant communication with his friends on Capitol Hill. They know, they call, he answers, he picks up the phone. He's a very transparent president in that way.
She also said that today marks, I guess, day 35 of the government shutdown. And as you guys know, the Democrats believe this is on the Republicans and vice versa. So I'd really love to know your thoughts. I heard Senator, his name escapes me. Is it Fetterman? The tall, bald guy that's always wearing a hoodie? And by the way, he sounds so much better than he did about this time, a year or so ago? A year or so ago, he couldn't really put together a sentence very well. Now he sounds a lot better. And he was basically saying on the video that I saw of him, something along the lines of he basically blames the shutdown on the Democrats.
Senator, thanks for joining us. So, as you know, 42 million Americans, including 2 million Pennsylvanians, will not receive food stamp or SNAP benefits this month because funding officially lapsed yesterday. The White House says this is the fault of Democrats for shutting down the government. Democrats note that the Trump administration is not dipping into the contingency funds for SNAP, and they think that Trump is doing that to pressure Democrats. How do you see it? Who do you blame for this?
Well, I mean, for me, fundamentally, I'm deeply distressing to know that 42 million Americans are going to lose their SNAP benefits. And now that's one of the big reasons why I refuse to shutting our government down. And again, I feel like the Democrats really need to own the shutdown.
Puts everybody in a really tough position. I don't really know who's to blame, but I don't like what I'm hearing, that it sounds like the reason the Democrats aren't starting the government back up is because they're trying to fight for illegal migrants to get free health care. If that is the case, that does seem kind of crappy to be slowing things down. Now, on the other side, I'm sure the Democrats completely disagree, but again, I'm not worried about them, I'm worried about you. Where do you stand on this? Do you think this shutdown is basically because of both sides, or do you feel like the Orange Man and his administration is at fault, is to blame?
This is all is solved by just reopen our government, and the people are now paid.
Absolutely gorgeous day today. This really is the time of year for you guys to begin to walk. If you watch the show and you don't walk, here's my other question for you. Why the hell don't you want to walk? It's like the easiest exercise in the world, and it does the most for you. It really does. I talk to people all the time that say, hey, I was working out at the gym, and I ended up hurting my shoulder. I ended up having muscle pains and, broken bones and this, that, and the other. You never hear that from people that go walking. Never. There's probably 1 or 2 people a year that twist an ankle because they're accidentally walking on the grass and there's a hole in the grass or something crazy.
Every single union that's involved in this is now demanding to us to reopen that. That's the side that I'm in through this. And now the 4 airlines are now saying we really have to stop this right now. And why do we really want to make flying less safe by forcing this kinds of situation and making things that much stressed?
The wild card in all of this is our population problem. I talk about the population issue all the time with you guys because I don't think we really understand it yet. I think if we were, in theory, to not give the migrants health care, let's say we freeze them out of that. Let's say they ended up all leaving, right? All of a sudden, you're not collecting taxes from those people, and all of a sudden we have to figure out a way to fund Social Security and all of our retirements in the upcoming years. So it's kind of like we are in a really tough spot. Then another thing that we talk about is the fact that what if this is just a uniparty move? Are they making it look like it's one versus the other and we have to make a decision? So all of a sudden the Republicans are going to be the heroes and they're going to fund the SNAP program, and because they capitulate to the left, we're going to end up giving that free health care to the migrants. And then if all those illegal migrants end up getting that free health care, does that make it where we become like the UK and all of a sudden 50% of all of our paychecks have to go towards taxes? Because obviously we have that problem too with the national debt, right? I always hear them every year stating that we have to pay interest on the national debt that is like more money than we pay towards SNAP altogether. So I mean, if all of a sudden everything we pay goes to interest, pretty soon it's going to become a pretty miserable future for whoever's left over that has to live in it. Another thing they were talking about that I think is equally as scary, apparently we've been having people that are working the towers at the airports, right? Apparently they haven't been getting paid And now they're starting to call in sick. And apparently a lot of them, they're hypothesizing, are probably doing gig work. So imagine you're showing up to a job full time, you're not getting paid, so you go do some door dashing and some Uber and Lyft driving, and all of a sudden you're tired as heck. So even when you are at your job, potentially it could be a danger. Could you imagine 2 planes colliding with each other over some airport? And then the reason is because the guy in the tower hasn't slept because he's doing DoorDash and Uber to pay his bills while he's not getting paid. By the way, I found that kind of weird, didn't you guys? I didn't know it was legal to work and not get paid. And then apparently they're going to get back pay, right? But even a couple weeks ago, I heard them saying that there's a chance that no one's going to get back pay. Now, I think they rectified that. But still, it's really difficult for people to want to work for free, especially in a world where every week that goes by, it gets expensive. Every time you leave your house and go outside, it costs you $100 or more. Could you imagine having to go even 2 or 3 weeks without any pay? Very difficult for a lot of people. I know I haven't put up my weight yet, but I did weigh myself. It was 196. However, it was after I drank literally 2 or 3 bottles of water, and I was like, that's not going to be accurate. So I'll take my weights tomorrow, but just know I'm in one of those plateaus. I quickly lost 7, 8, 10 pounds. Now I'm in one of those plateaus. I've got a lot of weight to lose. It's kind of amazing. I might be at that age where maybe it's becoming a little bit more challenging for me to lose weight, but you want to know something? I'm okay with that because I still know our plan works. Who cares if it takes 90 days or if it takes longer? Either way, we got to do it, right? There was 5,000 flights delayed on Sunday due to staffing shortages. Wow, that is crazy. Mark Jimenez says 42 million people on SNAP should be the burning question. Mark, why is that? You know, because every single one of us knows that the system is supposed to be set up so that you actually get off of the system as fast as possible, right? It's supposed to be there for you to help you while you're looking for a job. The problem is, I think a lot of these cities and states around the country make the benefits so lucrative that it no longer makes sense for you to get a job. I mean, if your benefits cover your rent, and if they cover your bills, they give you a little extra money in your pocket, and they cover your food, and all of a sudden you get a job and you lose all those benefits at once, that seems like a tough deal. I think what we ought to do is we ought to wean people off the benefits if they get a job. So you have a certain amount of time. If you don't get a job, you're going to lose your benefits, so you have no choice. But here's the reward. If you get a job, they allow you to keep your benefits for a year. That way, all the money you earn from your job, in theory, you could put that in your bank account so you have a nest egg. And then as you're working, hopefully you get more hours, maybe even a promotion or 2. And then at the end of the year, they take away those benefits, not all at once. Maybe they take away the food stamps at first. Maybe they take away the health benefits second. And then finally, they take away like the Section 8 housing. But either way, they ought to create a system where it helps you until you're able to get back on your feet. The way it's set up now, nobody ever wants to get off the benefits. Therefore, you have 42 million people using the benefits. And by the way, when I was a little boy, my mother was on food stamps and welfare. So I want to see the children have access to those food stamps so that they can eat. But at the same time, we have so many problems in this country because everybody always is kind of draining off the country. We need to all learn how to become a little bit more self-sufficient. Can I get an amen? Of course not. You guys are real stingy with the amens, I just want to say. Very stingy with the amens. Adam Norwood says, building a multi-million-dollar ballroom while a third of the country is worried about their next meal. Way to go, Trump. Jeffrey Lawrence says, when feeding the poor becomes less important over not liking the shutdown, blaming the Democrats when he is the cause. Paris the Great says he wants civil unrest. So does anybody agree with this, Mala? You probably agree with this. Do you think the Orange Man is making a mistake by working on the ballroom instead of taking care of getting the government back up and running? What do you make of Fetterman coming out? I think his name is John Fetterman, the bald guy. What do you make of him coming out kind of saying, look, we got to blame the shutdown on the Democrats? I think this is one of those things where if we end up giving all of these people free health care, I think it's going to make life for us in the future really, really difficult. But on the other hand, if we force these people out of the country, it's going to make life in the future very difficult because, again, we don't have very many young people having kids to pay taxes into a system that we're all relying on. Think about it. Even those people that have a 401k and a pension, they still get their government, check each month. I'm sure they all use it. So it's one of those things where I feel like we're damned if we do, damned if we don't. With that being said, I still really think President Trump is doing a hell of a job. I heard him on an interview today where he said he actually helped solve 8 out of the 9 wars that are going on around the world. And he had his receipts. If he is helping stop wars and stopping conflicts and that's saving people's lives, well, those are one of those things that in 50 years we're going to look back on and say, hey, he did a really good job. He saved a lot of people's lives. But right now we're kind of blind to it. I think we should give the big guy credit for that. I think he's one of the best presidents ever. One of the mistakes that I think the left does is I think they want to sell us on the idea that he's like this old senile guy with dementia. Guys, he doesn't act anything like your typical old senile guy with dementia. That's what's so weird when people push that narrative and it's like you can hear him speak. He's probably the best spoken president of all time. When he actually is on the world stage, I feel like the other countries respect us. I feel like he's out there trying to get Americans a better deal on the world stage. With other presidents, I always feel like it's some sort of consolation where we end up giving everything to the other countries and it doesn't benefit us at all. And of course, I could be very wrong. And if you think I'm wrong, let us know down below in the comments. There's a piece of me that thinks it's a uniparty. And I think what's going to happen is I think we're going to get the government up and running, but I think it's going to be posed as like this great moment for the Republicans where they decided to give free health care to everybody. And I think it's going to end up hurting more than it helps. But if you think about it, if it was a uniparty, they would want you to believe that both sides are arguing against one another. And then ultimately at the 12th hour, they're going to come through with this plan that saves everything. And then for the next 4 years, we'll be wondering why these X amount of Republicans ended up going against the grain and giving free health care to the migrants. And the reason they are is because, again, we have to ultimately pay for Social Security in the future. Now, that's just my thoughts. I could be crazy. But ultimately, isn't that what's going to happen? Aren't we going to have this same problem in another couple of weeks when that extra fund is dried up? And when that fund is dried up, it sounds to me like the Democrats are willing to not start up the government for a long time. They're willing to really hold back. What do they say? Stand 10 toes down? It sounds like they're standing 10 toes down. You know what I recommend? If you're going to stand with 10 toes down, why not put your feet in shoes and take a walk with us? If you walk every single day, at least you can have better health and hopefully stay away from the expensive healthcare system. Have a wonderful night. I will see you guys tomorrow. Please hit the like button and have a good night. Talk to you then.